Hello, everybody, and welcome to Friday Apocryphal Podcast, your one-stop shop for everything Friday Apocryphal and
podcasts.
And boy, do we have a show for you today. Today we are covering the Wisdom of Solomon, chapters 7 through 9.
Almost flawless.
Yeah.
No.
I was in the middle of swallowing some coffee.
So swallowing.
Yeah.
Can't do that on this show.
Whoa. Yeah, so...
Wisdom of Solomon. That's what we're covering today.
Yeah,
continuing.
We're going to be like halfway done with it by the time we're done with the show.
Yeah,
today.
just about. Or maybe exactly even. You said it was 19 chapters? Is that what you said?
Yeah, 19 chapters.
Okay. So, yeah, we're going to be just about the halfway point.
Just about.
Yeah. So, this is... We're going to see how much Solomon really cares about wisdom. We're going to see their close relationship in a much closer light than you've ever seen it before.
Well, he sacrificed a bunch of animals for wisdom, so...
He sacrifices a bunch of animals for a lot of stuff.
Yeah. Okay, so anything you want to say about this chapter before we hop into it?
You know what? I actually think I can. Yeah, here. Oh, well, first of all, what translation are we using for the reading?
Well, I have the Anchor Bible Wisdom of Solomon by David Winston.
And yes, of course, that's the commentary as well.
Yes.
I have Erdman's commentary on the Bible, as well as the New Interpreter's Bible Commentary, Volume 6. So we got a good amount of books here. We also have a whole bunch of others, but they will not be pertaining to today's show. And if I am at some point in the show very low energy, it's because I got 2 hours of sleep, but I have coffee. So
low energy Lawrence.
That's a good nickname. I like it.
Yep. Lackadaisical Lawrence.
That's some good alliteration there.
I've heard lazy Lawrence.
No,
That's fine, yeah.
Yeah, that's okay.
I don't think you are, though.
How about, instead of being lazy, I read this section from Erdman's commentary, shall we?
Go ahead.
So this unit, and by this unit, he's specifically talking about chapter 7, verses 1 through 6. This unit is defined by an inclusion which is hardly discernible in English translation. Like everyone else, the phrase, and see, it's not written in Greek, but it's transliterated here. So the transliteration is isos hapasin. If it was in Greek, I would be more confident about that pronunciation.
Wow.
And for all, and then ending in the word one. So the word that's used there, for all, is panton, which it really depends on context how it's translated. But what I can say is that it has a number of different forms that it could be, because the root form is pas, pasa, and pan, depending on the gender. And it can mean, it just means each or every. And the specific one used there is, like I said, I can't tell by the transliteration alone. It'd be easier to tell if it were in Greek, because that's just way more concrete. Transliterations are different. So what I can say is this is either the object of the sentence, which is more likely, although we'd have to look at that, by itself, in context, or it could be the perhaps or it could be the subject. Those are the two options. There are other options. There's a genitive option. There's a dative option. Although they use for all, that is probably the best way to put it into English. Although it doesn't exactly follow like the rules for that. It's a weird one, but it's pops up a lot, obviously, because it's the word all or every. So either way, this section contains a polemic against the old Oriental idea, so readily taken up by the Greek and later Roman rulers, that kings are different from ordinary human beings. Of course, we've seen that throughout many cultures, haven't we?
Yes, we have. And wow, there is extensive commentary about this section that I'm going to get into
Yeah.
when we read it.
Yeah,
So-
I'd argue that kings were different because people said they were, and that's about all that it takes.
That's pretty much, yeah, because people said so.
Right? Yeah.
So either they're gods or they stand in a special relationship to the gods. They can then claim to be especially endowed with wisdom and knowledge. The therefore, which 7:7 commences the next section, shows that verses 1 through 6 are designed to show that kings, by virtue of their position, cannot automatically expect to be wise. They have to pray for it like everybody else.
Hold up, Mark. The can of Behold is Behold. That's why it's there. It's not an
Yeah.
advertisement or placement. We are not sponsored by anyone.
No, we're
However, we thought it was funny because it's one of our catchphrases / keywords.
Yeah, so
Behold.
You can exclamation point behold like that. Ha ha.
yeah,
Wow, and I
thank
thought
you.
that was way faster. Good job.
Yeah, thanks, Jason, for demonstrating
Yes,
the
and
brilliance.
we are also aware that for some reason it doesn't blend in with the green screen.
Yeah, because of it's just too close. Yellow and green are very
Magical.
close.
Apparently.
That's just a normal property of it.
They
It
are
always
close.
does that. Yeah.
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 All right. So, I mean, that's all the commentary. Get yourselves ready for a polemic in this section.
Oh yeah, and there's more commentary in here. Don't worry about that.
Oh, great.
All right. So, chapter 7. Solomon is only a mortal. I too, indeed, am a mortal, like all the rest, descended from the first molded man, earthborn, and in my mother's womb I was sculpted into flesh. So there's commentary here. The human side of royalty was often emphasized in kingship tracts, sometimes in close relationship with its divine aspect. See, I guess, Pseudo-Aristeas, 262 through 263. How may one avoid yielding to arrogance by preserving equality and reminding himself at each turn that he is a man as well as a leader of men, 282. What man is worthy of admiration? He that is furnished with renown and wealth and power, and yet is in spirit on an equality with all men, 257. According to Ekphantus, in the terrestrial part of the universe, man is the best endowed by nature, but among men the king is the most divine, having more of the better elements in our common nature, for while in body he is like the rest of us, being made of the same substance, he has none of the less been created by the best of artificers, who shaped him with himself as the model. Philo had similarly written, in his material substance, the king is just the same as any man, but in the authority of his rank he is like the God of all, for there is nothing upon earth more exalted than he. Since he is mortal, he must not vaunt himself. Since he is a god, he must not give way to anger, for if he is honored as being an image of God, yet he is at the same time fashioned from the dust of the earth, from which he should learn simplicity to all. When Hispania ulterior to Tiberius, when Hispania ulterior, further Spain, i.e. the part beyond the Ebro, made an offer of a temple to Tiberius, he declined it, and according to Tacitus, not Tacitus, it's Tacitus, he asserted, I call you to witness, conscript fathers, and I desire posterity to remember that I am but a mortal, discharging the duties of a man. So this is a common thing among kings.
Yeah, where they're very commonly exalted. But here he is, he's saying he is in fact mortal, but it is, I guess, I suppose his duty.
Yes.
Yeah.
Now this second verse that I'm about to read, it's only 2 lines long,
Oh,
but it has like 3 pages of commentary.
I probably have some stuff on this too. So
Okay.
yeah, you can go ahead and read that.
During a 10-month space, curdled in blood by virile seed and the pleasure that is joined with sleep. He's talking about, pregnancy.
Of course he is.
Yeah.
Was that the end of the?
That's the end of the verse.
All right. So let's talk about a few of these things. So Solomon's formation in the womb for a period of 10 months is like that of all other people, apparently. The Hebrew tradition understood the time of human gestation to be 9 solar months. I carried you 9 months in my womb. That's in 2nd Maccabees. But see 4th Maccabees, which we will get to eventually, where pregnancy translates the Greek word dekamenios to mean a 10-month period.
Because of Deca.
Yes. The Greeks and the Romans often referred to a 10-month period for pregnancy. Roman law understood 10 lunar months to comprise the period of gestation. Aristotle noted that for the first human beings, the period of gestation differs from 7 to 11 months, with the 9th month being the most common for birth. I guess that's fair, right?
Yeah.
I'd say that's a fair one.
'Cause not everybody is, they come out immediately or whatever. Like,
You're right, they don't.
I think
Usually there's a labor.
I think I was almost 10 months. I wasn't, but I was almost. So, like, you can go longer than 9, I guess.
Yeah.
You can go less, too.
Or you could be premature.
I was premature.
You were premature,
I was
right?
a month premature.
Not too premature, just normal amounts. You're alive, right? Look at you.
So the author's description of the formation of the embryo is informed especially by Greek science. The idea of the embryos being molded into flesh in the mother's womb through the compacting or curdling of the semen in the blood was common in Greek writings.
Yes. So
Yeah.
there's extensive commentary here.
All right, great.
I'm gonna
Want to talk about curdling
I'm going to speed through it.
of semen?
So the compound...
My favorite kind of curdling.
There's no good what?
The compound dekamenios is first attested here and is also found in the Isis erytology, the only full version of which was discovered in Caim in 1925 and is dated to the 1st or 2nd century CE. I have ordained for women to bring forth the 10-month fetus into the light. The Ios description reads decamenon. Grimm suggests that lunar months of 28 days are meant. According to Roman law, 10 lunar months made up the full period of gestation. We read in Astrahasis 1-80, at the destined moment, the 10-month period was summoned, the 10th month arrived, and the elapse of the period opened the womb. The Hittite Code 117 also contemplates a pregnancy of 10 months.
All right, so the span for gestation for pregnancy is a little bit different throughout separate cultures, but they are in the same general range.
Yeah.
And people really can take 10 months, so it's like
Yeah,
not
yeah,
wrong.
of course. I mean, they could count months.
Yeah. The rabbis considered the ordinary duration of pregnancy to consist of 9 solar months, or 274 days, although an exceptional 12-month pregnancy is also recognized for being curdled in blood. See, 1 Enoch 15:4, you have defiled yourself with the blood of women and have begotten children with the blood of flesh. We have here a commonplace Greek science. Aristotle concludes in chapters 19 and 20 of the first book of his Generation of Animals that the female does not produce any semen, as earlier philosophers had held, but that the menstrual blood is the material form which the seminal fluid, in giving to it a form, will cause the complete embryo to be produced. This was not a new idea, but had already been suggested by the author of the Hippocratic Perigones, where in section 14 it stated that the embryo is nourished by maternal blood, which flows to the fetus and there coagulates, forming embryonic flesh. Aristotle further notes that the action of the semen of the male in setting the female's secretion in the uterus is similar to that of rennet upon milk. In India, too, the Susrata Samhita, dating from the first 2 or 3 centuries CE, says that the embryo is formed of a mixture of semen and blood. The blood in question is specifically referred to as menstrual, both by Susrata and Karaka. Moreover,
It's really interesting to see how people used to think this worked.
yeah, there's some more here though.
It sounds like they're dumb. You're right, Justin.
So so they thought that it was like literally a merging of flesh and blood.
Mhm.
Okay.
But they go on here to say, moreover, the Aristotelian comparison of the formulation of the embryo with the clotting of milk into cheese also occurs in Indian embryology. The Susrata Samhita says that that as the semen and blood undergo chemical changes through heat, 7 different layers of skin, kala, are formed like the creamy layers formed in milk. See Job 10:10.
What?
Hast thou not poured me out as milk and curdled me like cheese?
Okay. So
Wow, what a great reference.
Okay. Well, the thing is, it would be a cross reference then to I guess the similar background that was behind these ideas.
Mhm. There's more though.
Like
There's
the author of Job had the same kind of understanding is the point.
Yeah. There's an echo of the cheese analogy in the recently discovered Mani Codex.
Although,
where-
just to be clear, it's not recently discovered now. It was recently discovered when the author of that commentary wrote.
Yeah. Where Mani speaks of the human body as originally created in loathsomeness and procreated in a process comparable to cheese making. For the pleasure that occurs here, he says, by virile sedin, the pleasure that is joined with sleep. It just is part of the description. It's part of a science. Aristotle, in his Generation of Animals, said the pleasure which accompanies copulation is due to the fact that not only semen but also pneuma is emitted. Philo says, apart from pleasure, nothing in mortal kind comes into existence. And further says, now in a marriage where the union is brought about by pleasure, the partnership is between body and body. But in the marriage made by wisdom is between thoughts which seek purification and perfect virtues.
Okay, and that would make sense with the stuff that we have read about wisdom in biblical texts.
Mhm.
Yeah, it would fit right there.
Yeah, so there's more about that, but I thought all of this stuff about semen and cheese and pleasure was noteworthy, to say the least.
That was something. I
It was.
listened to the whole thing and
That's-
just maybe felt like I could drop my jaw half the time.
That's how people thought people were made.
That's terrifying.
They didn't have microscopes or
Macroscopes.
They should have thought of storks.
Guys,
They didn't even consider them.
See,
Guys.
the babies grow in the baby patch,
Oh,
and then the stork brings them to the parents.
Oh, it's a giant computer
Mm,
with genetically bred storks.
I guess. Anyways, when I continue on here.
Yeah, go ahead.
When I was born, I breathed the common air and fell upon the earth that suffers the same from all, howling out my first cry the same as all.
So just like everybody, he is very human. Or he starts off very human, I should say.
Mm.
Hashtag not all kids cry.
Why would you why would that ever be? Don't hashtag that.
I just wanted to troll Lawrence. It worked. He was like, huh? What?
Well, it is noteworthy that in the state of nature, Homo sapiens would usually give birth not laying down, but squatting, essentially. And when
Okay.
they say that they fell to earth, it's
it's
literally falling from the womb
Interesting.
to earth. Yeah. I was saddled and reared with care. No king has begun life otherwise, for all have one entry into life and a like departure.
So the conclusion of the reflection stresses Solomon's equality with everyone else. I mean, at least fundamentally, right? For everyone, there is one entrance into life and one exit from it. Solomon's egalitarian status, if you want to call it egalitarian, fine. We'll go with that. It's for the time, it was egalitarian enough, right? His egalitarian status could very well be an implicit critique of the divine status attributed to Egyptian pharaohs and to the kings of the Hellenistic period. It certainly could be. It certainly could be. Yeah, that's a total possibility.
Yeah.
But the author's purpose of stressing Solomon's commonality with humans has a more immediate aim. Solomon does not have a status separate from other humans that guarantees special wisdom. The wisdom that Solomon will seek and attain is open to everyone, which is why in the next section it's going to stress prayer.
Mm-hmm. So we're in a new section now, verses 7 through 14. And there is commentary on here about this section. Solomon preferred wisdom above all external goods, but subsequently discovered that the latter were ultimately attained along with her. There appears to be a faint echo here of the well-known philosophical debate between the Peripatetics and the Stoics. I'm unfamiliar with this.
Peripatetics?
With this well-known philosophical debate as to the
That's
relative.
great.
And you have a degree in philosophy.
Yeah. What the hell, man? As to the relative importance of external goods such as health, beauty, honor, and wealth, all of which are explicitly mentioned by our author here, for the happy life. The Stoics had placed special stress on the notion that virtue is self-sufficient for happiness and the only good, properly speaking. The peripatetic view of the triple good is explicitly attacked by Philo. Joseph's coat of many colors, he says, indicates this tangled position. Joseph is one who molds his theories with an eye to the statecraft rather than to truth. This appears in his treatment of the three kinds of good things, those pertaining to the outside world, to the body, and to the soul. He argues that each of the three classes mentioned has the character of a part or element that it is only when they are all taken together in the aggregate that they produce happiness. In order then that he might be taught better ideas than these, he is sent to men who hold that nothing is a good thing but what has true beauty, and that this is a property belonging to the soul as soul. In her, H-E-R period, that's short for something. However, Philo seems to follow the compromise adopted by Antiochus of Ascalon, who distinguished the viva beata, which depends only on virtue, from the vita beatissima, which requires also the possibility of using external goods. When will a man, asks Philo, have attained to a life of true bliss and happiness? Quote, when there is welfare outside us, welfare in the body, welfare in the soul, the first bringing ease of circumstances and good repute, the second health and strength, the third delight in virtues. The author of Wisdom seems to reflect to some extent Philo's position in its more moderate mood. One should seek wisdom for her own sake, but also all other goods, we are assured, will later follow in any case. So we're going to get into that. So we'll start off with verse 7 here.
And tell me when you get through. I might have some more commentary, interspersed, but I definitely want to talk about verse 12.
Okay. I'll tell you when I finish verse 12.
Okay, thank you.
Therefore I prayed, and understanding was granted to me. I called for help, and a spirit of wisdom came to me. So we remembered that this happened when he initially sacrificed a whole shitload of animals.
Yeah. And then, eventually he got his wisdom, right? It came to him in a dream.
Yes, this happens in 1 Kings chapter 3 and 1 Kings chapter 8.
It was before he, it was right before he built the temple, right? Or was it directly after?
It
was after.
Yeah,
I think.
It might be.
I don't even remember. We read that a while ago.
It's been quite a while. Anyways, I preferred her above scepter and throne, and held riches as naught by comparison.
Of course, being wisdom.
Yes. I reckoned no priceless gem her equal, since all gold in her sight is but a pinch of sand, and before her silver is accounted as clay. We had that silver being definitively less than gold pop up in Kings.
Sure, yeah. But now it's like even gold compared to wisdom got nothing on her.
Yeah.
And of course, the whole lady wisdom metaphor has been used extensively.
Yeah. I loved her above health and shapeliness and preferred her to the light of day, for her radiance never sets. But all good things came to me with her together, and wealth past counting in her hands. And I rejoiced in all, since wisdom leads them forth. Yet I was unaware that it was she who bore these things. That's the end of verse 12.
Okay. So, all right. Let's talk about verse 12 a little bit here. So the conclusion of the passage adds a nuance to the relationship between wisdom and human goods that supersedes the source in 1 Kings. In 1 Kings 3, the gifts of riches and honor are given in addition to the gift of a wise and discerning heart.
Yep.
The wisdom author refers to wisdom as the engenderer of human goods. So the rarely used Greek word genetes in verse 12 is the feminine form of genetes. So it's I guess it's a little bit different there. I think it's a completely different word in general, but it's just spelled differently. It's the same word. That's what I mean to say. It's just a different spelling. A lot of authors took some form of freedom with some of the spellings, and it's honestly a little bit annoying. So now they say that it means the begetter or father. So it means like the originator.
Mm-hmm.
It means like becoming, something like that. It brings things into being, basically. But the specific form there, genetes, is the genitive. So it's kind of like a possessive. Instead of being just the begetter or something, it means of the begetter.
Mm-hmm.
Or of a begetter, unless I don't know if there's like an article in there, but it's yeah.
Yeah, Wolfson suggests that the term leads them hegetai, and mother of them genetin, undoubtedly reflects the double meaning of the three Hebrew consonants aleph, mem, nun, which in Philo are given the meaning of nurse, omen, and mother, iman. Yeah, but some people disagree. Also, there's a bit here about the riches and honor. This occurs in 2 Chronicles 1:12 and Proverbs 3:16, which states length of days is in her right hand, and her left hand riches and honor, and 8:18 and Matthew 6:33. According to the rabbis, Solomon chose wisdom, knowing that wisdom, once in his possession, would have all else come of itself. Rabbi Simeon B. Halafta utilizes the following parable. The matter is similar, he says, to the king's counselor, who, when asked to request what he desired most, reflected as follows, quote, "If I request silver and gold, he will bestow them. Precious stones and diamonds, he will bestow them. I will ask for his daughter's hand, and all will be included."
Oh, okay. I see.
Yeah.
I guess one last piece before we continue on with the reading. So the fact that Solomon comments on not having known that wisdom was the mother of all goods singles out his pristine love for wisdom. He did not pursue wisdom in order to have these goods. Rather, in discovering and receiving wisdom, he has unearthed a value that goes far beyond his desires and expectations.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, guys.
All
You're
right.
so unwise. You didn't even realize how true that is.
Oh, now you're starting to sound like
A troll?
Blavatsky.
Oh, I've been a troll the whole time.
You just wait till we get into the New Testament and use
that's
Blavatsky's
right.
commentaries
That's right.
on the New Testament.
Ruben wants to do that, to have like a did you have the idea for a Blavatsky minute, or was that me?
That
or?
was
Okay.
I'll agree that was a good idea.
Okay. So I guess
know
we'll
that
be
it was probably Ruben's original.
we'll basically be doing like an
Okay.
occasional trolley reading from Blavatsky because she's
Yeah.
insane.
Well, to be fair, While Helena Blavatsky was incredibly ill-informed and a plagiarist, there's several Indian traditions that would not exist in the West today if it weren't for her work.
Weird.
So,
Okay.
it's pretty useful sometimes, but she's usually full of it, man.
Yeah, I would say so.
And also partially responsible for the rise of the Nazis.
Yes.
Yep. Guilelessly did I learn, and unstintingly do I share. I do not hide her riches. She is an inexhaustible treasure for mankind, and those who acquire it attain friendship with God, commended by the gift derived from her instruction. So this friendship of God thing, there's no commentary in here, but if you remember, some of the characters who were featured in the Alphabet of Ben Sira as being ones who didn't die or ones who achieved friendship with God. I think Enoch specifically is someone
Damn,
who
shout out
achieves
Enoch
friendship
again,
with
and it
God.
can't even work.
Right.
Did it say friendship?
Well,
Yes.
in the Bible, it says he walks with God.
Yeah.
But I think either in 1st or 2nd Enoch, it mentions friendship with God. I mean, it's a little different, especially when you get into 2nd and 3rd Enoch, right? Because he turns into Metatron.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
Oh, it's just like the devil may care, that version of God. He's like, I don't want to be friends with those guys.
Yeah.
Get those guys out of here. We got to put them somewhere else.
Yeah. Oh, there's some notes. Man.
Okay,
this-
so here's a little bit of commentary here. So through the gift of wisdom comes friendship with God. Friendship was highly valued in the wisdom tradition, and it became an ideal for fostering a faithful and personal relationship with God. So citations here include Job 29:4, Psalms 25, Proverbs 7:18 and 27, and also Sirach chapter 6. Well, we have in fact read all of those. Friendship was with God was one of the highest epithets that could be given to a person. Abraham received the appellation of God's friend, and Moses spoke to God as a friend.
all right.
Yeah, and I remember a friend of God being, I remember that part in Job actually. I remember the whole friend of God thing in Job. I'm pretty sure it was in Job that I'm remembering. We talked a little bit about the whole. About that epithet before.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All right. We're like halfway through this chapter.
Yeah, it is a longer.
It's a long one, and also the last section in this chapter stops. It includes 8:1, so I'm gonna read that one when we get to it too,
Okay.
because it's in there. Anyways, let's continue. Verse 15. God grant that I speak in accord with his wish, and conceive thoughts worthy of his gifts, for he himself is both the guide of wisdom and corrector of the wise. Both we and our words are in his hands, as well as understanding and craftsmanship. For it was he who gave me unerring knowledge of existent being, to know the structure of the universe and the operation of the elements.
So this is, I think this is very similar to the whole Ecclesiastes thing, like everything in its place and time for everything, all that kind of.
It's also similar to in First Enoch, the
Yes.
astronomical book, where it literally gives
Yes.
some knowledge of the way that the heavenly bodies move around.
Which is stuff you see in apocalyptic literature a lot.
Which, by the way, we're gonna get a mention of something in First Enoch.
Oh, we are. Is it?
In a verse that's coming up in verse 20. So
Yeah,
I'll-
I also have that.
Yeah, one of us will bring it up. The beginning and end and middle of times, the changes of the solstices and vicissitudes of the seasons, the cycles of years and the positions of the stars. So this is very astronomical book E.
Yeah.
It's also kind of Kohelet E.
Yes.
So it's like a good mix. Those are things we like.
Wow. So Solomon has both the wisdom of Enoch and Kohelet. Incredible.
Lucky guy.
He's got what's going on, and I don't know why our exclamation mark Enoch isn't working.
Yeah, I don't know why that command isn't.
I looked at it again after you did it, Jason, and it's still not working.
Weird.
It
Whatever.
should be working.
Right? It's identical to all the other ones I just checked.
Yeah.
Weird.
It's because I did it. I'm not allowed to add things to that system.
Well, let me finish off this section and then we'll talk commentary. The natures of living creatures and the tempers of beasts, the violent force of spirits and the reasonings of men, the species of plants and the virtues of roots. I learned both what is hidden and what is manifest, for wisdom, the artificer of all, taught me. That's the end of verse 22a. And the end of this section, but not this chapter.
Yeah, so it's basically just all the cosmological stuff that we learn, or I guess all the astronomical stuff that we have read about in plenty of other books. That there's a very clear echo of that here. That he's the creator of all these things. He ordered all these things.
Yeah, there's a few things in here. First,
You know what? Maybe King Zara Yaakov was onto something.
Oh no. But so Abraham was raised above the firmament and showed all the orderings of the stars in something LAB 18:5.
Hey, Mark, recommend
what?
the show to your dog. Thanks.
Whatever LAB is, it must be something. So, also, it's mentioned in Philo. Philo makes note of the motion of astronomical bodies.
Sure.
So, 1 Kings 4:33 on the natures of living creatures. It says Solomon spoke also of beasts and birds and reptiles and fish. But the violent force of spirits, pneumaton bias, may mean either the violent force of winds or of spirits. For the former translation, see Philo and Quran 2181. Quote,
Interesting.
and to Solomon we subjected the wind, strongly blowing, end quote. The structure of the verse, however, would seem to require the latter translation of spirits. A passage in 1QH 1:9-11 may help to bridge the two translations. Thou hast created all the spirits.
I think that's the. I could be wrong, but I think that's the Pesher on Habakkuk. Maybe I'm wrong. H.
Well, it says, thou hast created all the spirits and hast established a statute and a law for all their works, the mighty winds, according to their laws, before they became angels of holiness and eternal spirits in their dominions. Furthermore, the virtues of roots. Contrast 1 Enoch 8:3, where such knowledge is part of the forbidden information revealed to man by rebel angels.
That's right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
learned about that one.
I mean, obviously, roots, medicine, shit.
Yeah,
that.
yeah. Kind of classic revelatory stuff.
Yeah. So there's a bit more in here, but I'm not gonna
Yeah, that's fine.
dwell on it forever. All right. So this next section, 22b through 24, wisdom here is described in a series of 21 epithets, borrowed largely from Greek philosophy, and the representations of the initiation into immortality delivered in the so-called Mithras liturgy, part of the Great Paris Magical Codex, presumably compiled in the early 4th century CE. Ion is similarly invoked with 21 epithets, which consistently refer to him as god of light and fire. Similarly, the Ahuna Vaira.
So it looks like this is the section where he's trying to define wisdom in some way, or describe an origin story.
Or at least some features of wisdom.
Yeah.
And so there's extensive parallels with other traditions. We're not going to get deep into them, but we can at least note that there's extensive parallels with other traditions. All right. For in her is a spirit intelligent and holy, unique of its kind, yet manifold, subtle, agile, lucid, unsullied, clear, inviolable, loving goodness, keen, unhindered, beneficent, humane, steadfast, unfailing, untouched by care, all-powerful, all-surveying, and pervading all spirits, intelligent, pure, and most subtle. For wisdom is more mobile than any motion. She pervades and permeates all things by reason of her pureness.
So let's talk about some of this stuff. So the description of wisdom's innate and natural qualities takes the form of a list of attributes. There are numerous examples of this device for eulogies or for praise in both Hellenistic and rabbinic writings. The goddess Isis, for example, has so many names attributed to her that one epithet for her is countless names. In similar fashion, Philo attributes the epithet many names to wisdom, referring to the several names given to wisdom by Moses. In this passage, the number of qualities attributed to wisdom, 21, is not arbitrary. 3 sets of the perfect number 7 signify complete perfection. For the most part, the adjectives or qualities are borrowed from Greek thought, especially that of the Stoics. And then it goes on to list many of these, but he says that it's hard to distinguish any clear-cut pattern.
So now we're in the last section of the chapter and the first verse of the next chapter, which I'll read as well because it's in this section. Right.
Doing double duty.
Oh, yeah. It's so difficult. She is an exaltation from the power of God, a pure effluence from the glory of the Almighty. Therefore, nothing tainted insinuates itself into her. She is an effulgence of everlasting light, an unblemished mirror of the active power of God, and an image of his goodness. Though but one, she can do everything, and abiding in herself, she renews all things. Generation by generation, she enters into holy souls and renders them friends of God and prophets. For nothing is pleasing to God but the man who lives with wisdom. She is fairer than the sun and surpasses every constellation. Compared to the light of day, she is found more radiant, for day is superseded by night, but over wisdom no evil can prevail. She stretches in might from pole to pole and effectively orders all things.
That is quite a lot there. And was that the end of the section then?
Yeah, including 8:1.
Okay. So Okay.
We're in chapter 8 now.
Yes. So of the 21 attributes, the mobility and the pervasiveness of wisdom in the cosmos are singled out for special attention. The idea that thought is faster than any physical motion was a common reflection in Greek philosophy. Philo likewise made use of the idea of swiftness in praising the speed of the logos and commented on the speed of the mind. Quote, for the mind moves at the same movement to many things, material and immaterial, with indescribable rapidity. The idea of the pervasiveness of knowledge that penetrates all things was a typically Stoic idea. Even the use of the double verbs pervade, dieko, and permeate, choreo, points to its Stoic source, which makes use of these verbs to describe the presence of the Spirit. Because of its mobility and pervasiveness, wisdom is readily accessible to human beings as a source of right conduct.
Mm-hmm.
Makes sense.
So there's a lot of references to Philo.
Yeah, definitely.
Specifically, though, probably most interesting here is fairer than the sun. So according to Philo, the sun is only a copy or image of wisdom. Similarly, in Republic 7517b, Plato tells us that the form of the good is the cause of for all things, of all that is right and beautiful, giving birth in the visible world to light. According to Aristobulus, too, all light comes from wisdom. And LAB, whatever LAB is, he doesn't say specifically.
Doesn't have a, I forget what it's called. Like just a list of abbreviations. They usually have that.
Oh,
LAB.
lab. That's what it is.
Pseudophilos Liber Antiquarium Biblicarum.
What
Okay.
a much better name than lab.
Yeah. So in that book, which has a long name, 12, 1 through 3, we read that when Moses came down from the mountain, he was covered with an invisible light, and the light of his face overcame the brightness of the sun and moon.
I remember that.
Well, I remember something like that. I don't remember it being brighter than the sun and moon.
That's in a different book. It's in this weird book, remember?
Yeah. Pseudophilo.
Yeah, it's not quite.
Okay.
It might be apocryphal, too. We'll have to read it.
Yeah, just a few more on some of these things that kind of hits on the same notes. So reflection or brightness. So the word can mean either the light streaming from its source or the reflection of such a light. The commentators differ, as do the translations here, though most opt for reflection, noting that the ideas of a mirror and its image follow in the rest of the verse. The discussion of the meaning of the text here is to some extent bedeviled by the fact that the author of the epistle to the Hebrews, probably borrowing from wisdom, used this word in 1:3 to describe the relation of Jesus to the glory of God. In Hebrews 1:3, the NRSV and NEB adopt the same translations as they do here in the Wisdom of Solomon. The theological point at stake is how closely wisdom, and hence the Son in the Trinity, is related to God. And just to hit on a very similar note, the word image there, it's I can't talk right now. It is a Platonic metaphor, the world as an image of the unchanging reality or the forms underlying it. This term too had a long history before it in Trinitarian theology.
And now we're going to be switching off. If you enjoyed this part of the stream, which we're continuing into another part of the stream.
Into the next chapter.
Then you're going to enjoy the next part, and so you should tell people about it and remind yourself about it later.
Yeah, definitely make sure to do the stuff that it says on the screen, because it helps us out a lot. So
even money sign.
So
We've got that donation drive. Don't forget.
Yes, we do.
666 will be clear and tell you about how clear,
Scientology.
how great clear is.
We're going to do some Scientology stuff.
Yeah, take apart a thetan meter, etc. There you go.
Yeah.
Let's get on to the next section of our reading.
Yes.
Yes, so let me comment on this. This is from Eerdmans. Chapter 8 returns us to the pseudonymous framework of this central section of the book. And here Solomon describes wisdom as a bride whom he woos, marries, and brings to his home. See also Sirach 15:2. In the original version of the poem, which ends his book, 51:13 through 20a, in 11q Psalms, 21:11 through 17, Ben Sirach plays on the erotic analogy of the reception of wisdom as a bride. Behind the analogy lies the experience that wisdom is its own reward and provides satisfactions comparable with or better than those of marriage, which must be the implication of 8:16. Kloppenborg argues that wisdom 8:2 through 9 contains a dense configuration of attributes of Sophia, which bear a significant correlation to attributes, indeed, principal attributes of Isis. So we're going to get into it. I'm going to head to the restroom real quick.
But I see how it is.
You do have commentary in
All
there
right.
to flip to.
Yeah, I suppose that is true. So I guess Ruben has decided now to
abandon ship.
Yes. See, usually Jesus is here to help him ascend, but
That's on Sunday.
That is on Sundays. This time around, he's doing it on his own. I guess Jesus taught him how. So, all right. So how about we hop into I guess the rest of chapter 8.
Got that first verse done right.
Yep. Her I loved and sought out from my youth, and longed to make her my bride, and I became a lover of her beauty. She magnifies her noble birth by enjoying intimacy with God, and the master of all loved her. Of course, master of all being God. And yeah, this whole bride language, Reuben kind of hit on it earlier.
It's talked about in other Apocrypha as well.
It's talked in stuff like in Sirach, as was mentioned. We have also kind of seen, I guess you could say, a proto version of something like this in Proverbs, for example, with Lady Wisdom, right? And
Yep.
because one of the ideas that we got from reading Proverbs was that it was used to like entice younger guys to be like, oh, wisdom's hot. All
Boy,
right,
yeah.
I'm in. You son of a bitch, I'm in. That's definitely one of the things. And then there's also the I forget which psalm it is, but it's the marriage one. But it's not between wisdom and Solomon. It's between, or it's I guess is to be
We
interpreted
gotta
between.
find Fiverr Enoch for Fridays.
We got to what?
Find Fiverr Enoch
Oh,
for Fridays.
yes, that's a good idea. All right. So, for she is initiate in the knowledge of God.
What verse are you on?
Verse 4.
Okay.
Yeah. She is initiate in the knowledge of God and chooser of his works. If riches be a possession to be desired in life, what is richer than wisdom, maker of all things? Interesting.
The term used to characterize wisdom's relationship to God as an initiate in knowledge is a technical term used in the mystery cults to designate the highest level of illumination for their members. So, noteworthy. Continue.
So for verse 5 there, okay, so it actually is noted. All right. It says that the 4 successive clauses beginning with A, that's the word if, are another example of the authors striving for a rhetorical effect. I was kind of interested in the maker of all things there. If understanding is productive, who more than she is the artificer of all that is? And if one prizes justice, the fruits of wisdom's labor are virtues. Self-control and understanding are her teaching. Justice and courage, and in the life of man, nothing is more useful than these.
So, if righteousness is a value to be loved, then so much more so is wisdom, the origin of the 4 virtues: self-control, which moderates the use of pleasure; prudence, which discerns the means for ends; justice, which determines what belongs to each; and courage, which gives strength to surmount difficulties and trials. This is the first clear reference in Scripture to the famous debate of the 4 virtues in Greek literature. Plato classified virtue into 4 categories as expressing the harmony or health of the soul. Although the Epicureans rejected the Platonic division, they discussed all 4 virtues in the pursuit of pleasure. The Stoics and
that sounds pretty Epicurean.
the Stoics and Philo continued to speak of the 4 virtues, and Philo attributed the origin of the virtues to the divine logos, very much as our author attributes them to wisdom. The author may very well have been inspired to integrate Greek philosophical debate on the virtues with the traditional understanding of wisdom. In Proverbs 2, for example, wisdom is presented as the origin and bestower of several virtues. See also 4th Maccabees 1:18.
But if one also longs for wide experience, she knows the past and infers the future. She understands the intricacies of argument and the resolutions of riddles. She foreknows signs and wonders and the outcome of critical seasons and times. So the whole point here being that, so first of all, the virtue stuff. If you love these things, well, then you should love the root of these things. And the root of these things is found within wisdom, with wisdom herself. Furthermore, this final one, verse 8, just to be more specific there. So verse 8 there is, mostly describing, you get hindsight, you get foresight, you know what's going on, you're really thinking about things.
You get seasonal knowledge.
Well, also in verse 8, wisdom does all the things traditionally regarded as the role of the wise man in Sirach 39, 1 through 5.
Ooh, taking their jobs.
Also, the common word pair signs and wonders is ordinarily associated with the great events surrounding the Exodus. In reverse order, it appears in 10:16, referring precisely to the great events of liberation that wisdom inspired through Moses. These signs and wonders associated with the Exodus will become the focus in the last part of the book. The phraseology here anticipates the wisdom of God to be the one who saves the people and guides them through the desert with signs and wonders.
Yeah, so of course signs and wonders is a big one, but more than just that, there's also the critical seasons and times. I'm not sure if this is, just the same phraseology or just the same ideas here, but there's a reference here to Daniel 2:21 in the Septuagint specifically. All right, let's continue then. I determined then to take her to live with me, knowing that she would be my counselor in prosperity and my comfort in anxiety and grief. So living with me
Would be like becoming his wife.
Yeah. I mean, I get that's the whole metaphor, right?
Though for Solomon, I gather having one additional wife wouldn't
Not a
be
big
that
deal.
big of a deal.
Yeah. What's
That's
one
the level
more
of commitment it was. And for him, that's a low level of commitment.
for like on top of what, 1,000, right?
Yeah, he had a ridiculous number of wives.
Yeah.
Too many wives.
But this is wisdom. This is the best wife.
Can you imagine the nagging?
God, Ruben.
The group would just argue. They'd have group nagging. Oh my God. They'd be petitioning for things.
Just
They'd make signs.
stop, both of you.
Solomon, I can't open this jar of pickles.
Solomon, none of us can open this jar of pickles.
Wisdom probably can.
Solomon would be like, have you tried applying a lubricant of
Yeah,
some
right.
kind?
Oh my God.
You could warm it up a little.
Through her, I shall have repute among the masses and honor among the elders, young though I am. So he will be revered and awed.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Aw.
In judgment, I shall be found acute, and in the presence of rulers, I will win admiration. When I am silent, they shall wait for me. When I speak, they will attend, and when I hold forth at length, they will lay hand upon their mouth. Yeah, they're going to listen to everything he has to say, basically.
Mm.
They don't want, he knows best now because he's got wisdom.
Of course. Let me know when you finish verse 16.
Okay. Through her, I shall have immortality. And, of course, he talked about that earlier, right?
Yeah.
And shall leave an enduring memorial to those who come after me. Here's a cross-reference to Philo, once again. The man who is capable of running swiftly, it bids stay not to draw breath, but pass forward to the supreme divine Logos, who is the fountain of wisdom, in order that he may draw from the stream and, released from death, gain life eternal as his prize. So according to the Isis Eratology, Isis was especially the goddess of immortality, which she conferred upon her husband and brother Osiris and her son Horus.
Also the term initiate, which appears in an earlier verse that we went over, also can be used as an epithet of Isis.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Also, Chris, could you put in the command thing and see if that works? Just,
Warp.
Yeah, just a regular old command thing. Show everybody the commands. Let's hope Nightbot works. I don't know why it hasn't been, except for that one time.
Yeah, that one time.
Yeah, that was weird. But, or I think it's commands, plural.
Fuck.
Either way, we do have a good amount of commands. You can use them. Hopefully they work. They are very interesting. There's also a quote of the day. So I think that's just the exclamation mark QOTD.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's it'll give you an interesting verse. We're gonna switch them out occasionally.
Mm-hmm.
So, continuing on here to verse 14. I shall govern peoples, and nations will be subject to me. Dread despots will take fright when they hear of me. In popular assembly, I shall show myself noble, and in war, courageous. So I actually like how it went from these other rulers listening to him to now they are being subjected to him.
Mm-hmm.
And here's verse 16. When I come home, I shall find rest in her. Oh, for intercourse with her has no bitterness, nor living with her pain, but only cheer and joy. Oh, boy.
Boy, howdy. Is that verse 16?
Yes, that is verse 16.
So let's get into a couple of things. First of all, with 8:13 compares 6:19 and 8:17. What kind of immortality does the author have in mind here? The second clause in the context suggests that he has Solomon in mind, and so is really thinking of the immortal reputation which the supremely wise man leaves behind him. But 6:19 and 8:17 suggests that he has the more substantial idea in mind, as in chapters 3 through 5. Both concepts of immortality are present simultaneously. So that's noted in Eerdmans. Additionally, there's a bit of a longer section. They don't break down these verses in...
Yeah, they have them in weird sections. I mean, it makes sense for the units themselves, these sets of verses, but it is, a little weird.
So I'll really quickly go through some of this. The allusion to Solomon's fame is based on two features in the historical accounts of Solomon's rise to power. The first is to the youthfulness of Solomon, who recognizes his need for experience and wise counsel. In the dream sequence, Solomon confesses that he's but a child and does not know how to govern. Therefore, he asks for an understanding mind so that he can govern wisely and continue in the footsteps of his father David. 1 Kings 3:7-9. In his reflection on wisdom, Solomon recognizes how he will have glory and respect before the multitudes and his elders, even though he is young. The idea of youths having an understanding beyond their years was already addressed in the third diptych, 4:7-20.
And as we discussed before, the diptychs are the ones where they kind of sandwich together, where the last part parallels the first part and kind of goes inwards.
So other examples in Scripture would be those of Joseph, Elihu, and Daniel. The second feature in the historical accounts to which the author makes an allusion is the reputation Solomon will earn as a wise statesman, both in Israel and beyond. His keen judgment is represented in the astute action he took to determine the true mother of a child.
Yeah, that old chestnut.
And some stuff that we already know about Solomon dealing with other nations, Queen of Sheba, etc. The claim that wisdom will confer immortality on Solomon is consistent with the previous association of wisdom with immortality, 6:17-20. Wisdom brings one close to God and confers immortality. In the Isis cult, the goddess Isis was considered to have been the conferrer of immortality, which she conferred on her husband Osiris and on her son Horus.
Which we just discussed, yes.
Yeah. The immortality Solomon will enjoy is the honored reputation that will last even after his death.
And of course, that was a huge thing.
Yeah. Finally, the metaphor of loving wisdom as a wife concludes this part of Solomon's inner reflection on the advantages of living according to wisdom. Wisdom is the one who brings complete rest and joy. All of Solomon's activity in planning and Ruling finds its accumulation in rest and peace through wisdom. Both Solomon's public life and his private life will become well ordered, so that he may enjoy in peace the fruit of his labor.
Yeah, and more onto that. So the next section here, so starting at verse 17, is wisdom, a sheer gift of God's grace. So it gives us, I suppose, another kind of interpretation.
Is there an introductory note to this section?
No, there is not.
All right, there is in here. So, first from Eerdmans, the section is marked out by the inclusion heart, which happens in 17b and 21b. The author alludes to the common Greek idea of the kinship between men and the gods, usually expressed by philosophers in terms of the common possession of the mind/soul, identified as the reasoning faculty. There has been a great deal of disagreement among scholars over the interpretation of 8:19 through 20, some holding that the author clearly accepts the idea of the preexistence of the soul, and others denying it. There's no trace of such an idea in the Old Testament, but Jewish texts close in time and orientation to the wisdom of Solomon do accept it. See 4th Maccabees and Pseudo-Phocylides. Josephus,
That's a mouthful.
Yeah. Josephus attributes to the Essenes belief in both the preexistence and immortality of the soul.
Oh, yeah, there is some notes here on the Essenes as well.
Yeah. Which I guess you'll get into because it's not really covered.
Yeah, once we get to the verse.
There's also an introduction in this commentary, the Nrb Commentary. This unit corresponds to the opening unit of the concentric structure, 7:1 through 6. The opening of Solomon's reflection on his human limitations and mortality led to the realization of his solidarity with all humanity and his openness to the transcendence of God. Here, at the conclusion of Solomon's reflection and eulogy for wisdom, we return to the concrete awareness of his need to ask from God the wisdom that is graciously bestowed as a gift.
All right, so I can hop into verse 17.
Yeah.
After thinking this over in my mind and pondering in my heart that there is immortality in kinship with wisdom, and in her friendship sheer delight, and in the labors of her hands unfailing wealth, and in training in her society understanding, and great renown in the sharing of her words, I went about in search of how I might make her my own. So now, going after wisdom, is this going to be the incredible love story there?
Yeah.
So, of course, the closer you get to wisdom, the closer you get to understanding all these all these parts of the world, I suppose. Mm-hmm. And you will get joy from this. I was indeed a child well endowed. I hope that means something different than what it would mean today. Having had a noble soul fall to my lot. Okay, it does mean something different.
Yeah.
So verse 19 there. This verse is as clear a statement of the concept of pre-existent souls as one could wish, and there is no need to explain it away as many commentators have done. Now, of course, you mentioned before that there are a lot of different ideas about this. So, I mean, it may be... I don't think it would actually differ that much in the Greek. However, so let's read that again. I was indeed a child well endowed, having had a noble soul fall to my lot. That does sound like a pre-existent soul. Mm-hmm. That is what that sounds like.
So the controversial theory of the pre-existence of the soul has played a part in the formulation of the author's positive view of Solomon's nature. A good soul fell to Solomon's lot, or rather, being good, Solomon entered an undefiled body. The author's qualification...
Well, why would a body be... Well, I suppose some bodies would be defiled, right? Like in the sense of a theology, where you would think that...
like extreme mutation.
Or like a foreigner or something.
I guess.
So like out of
Leprosy.
well, right. So out of
defects.
out of those things, like there were, probably a lot of kids that looked just like Solomon, right? So what specifically was it? Like that explanation would then need like a very specific thing about Solomon's body.
Yes, his birthmark, which
Well, it would be his lineage, right? Because he's going
Right.
into a royal lineage.
I suppose, yeah.
There's a bit more commentary. The author's qualification of the priority of the soul over the body was probably influenced by the nuances of Greek ideas treating the preexistence of the soul. The notion of preexistence has already worked its way into Jewish thought as exemplified in Philo and Josephus. But in both formulations of verses 19 through 20, the author is asserting the natural harmony that exists between Solomon's soul and body. What the qualification stresses is not so much the preexistence of the soul as the moral perspective of the relationship between body and soul. By the virtue of being good, Solomon entered an undefiled body. This is consistent with the author's ethical stance towards immortality.
So by being good, because of being good, the soul entered? That doesn't make much sense, because what was there to be good before? Other than the nature of the body itself.
good.
I mean, it's a good body,
It's well
That-
endowed. No,
That cheese curdled properly.
Of course.
Yeah.
Wait, hold on. Yeah, he
That's
also
some good
said.
cheese.
Hold on. He also said that he was like made the same as everybody else.
Right.
So I think this might be like a stroke of luck kind of thing.
Well, he was made the same as everyone else.
Right.
Everyone is made the same as everyone else.
Right. I get
Unless
that.
you're made in a test tube.
Okay, I get that. What I'm saying is, if he just did this whole thing where he's putting himself on the same level as others, it's just a little bit weird to me that that there would be some choosing in who gets a pre-existent soul, because they're all made the same. Does that make sense? Not sure.
No, you're crazy.
It is
If they're all
strange
equal in
that-
nature.
Well, they're made the same. That doesn't mean they're equal.
Well, that was kind of his whole point, that he needed wisdom in order to no longer be that.
It's a bit like when a president is like, my fellow Americans. It's like something that they throw out there to say like, oh,
Sure,
look,
sure.
I'm just like you. Now let me go into all the details about how I'm better than everyone else.
Yeah, I suppose. I mean, there's really no logic to that either. Let's be fair.
Yeah.
But I think that works. That would work, the same as this, or very similarly, at least. I don't know. There's not really much of a discussion on this exact idea, but there are references. So where there are discussions about this verse, so that might be useful in the future.
Wonderful.
All right. Or rather, being noble, I entered in undefiled body. Right. But knowing that I could not otherwise gain possession of her, except God give her, and to know the source of this grace was a mark of understanding, I petitioned the Lord and supplicated him. And with all my heart, I said, hold on, next section. Okay, so it's a pretty long speech, actually. So we'll get to that in a second. But either way, so he had to petition the Lord, and I'm gonna say that he maybe made his body undefiled. So I'm gonna guess it started as a defiled body, just like everybody else, and then through any kind of purification rites, which we already
We've talked a lot about them.
Yeah, we've talked a lot about them. They're very common. Some kind of cleansing ritual, right? He was able to purify his body, and also through performing those rituals, his his mind as well.
I guess.
Wisdom went up.
So maybe having a noble soul fall to my lot. So
So the
I'm
falling-
guessing. I think, and you could tell me if you disagree. Tell me.
There's a little bit more commentary.
There is, but just I want to get the thought out. So, my guess is that he had earned this soul, but it's not like he didn't have a soul before. It's that he did, but the soul has now become noble.
Well,
And I think his nature is maybe his ability to do those kinds of rituals.
I think the point was that because a good body was formed in the womb from Solomon's mother, from good stock, royal stock, a good soul was afforded to that body. And maybe that's how they explain some of the cognitive deficiencies that come with extreme genetic mutations. Like they just assume, well, there's a good, strong body, so they must have a good mind, right?
Right, but it still wouldn't. Some of it still wouldn't make sense, right? Because if he has to petition God
Mhm.
for wisdom, and he needs wisdom to kind of get over that hump of mediocrity.
Mhm.
Uh,
Well, it's he has a naturally good disposition,
sure.
which draws him to God.
Okay.
Yeah.
Makes sense. All right. No more scholarship necessary. We figured it out.
Yeah, there's also a little bit here in a tiny little note at the bottom. Look at this shit.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
That's really, really tiny font.
Yeah, it is. The pre-existence of the soul received its authoritative expression in Plato's complex doctrine, see Phaedo and Republic. Good books, by the way. The wisdom author is clearly referring to the primacy of the soul with the notion of its pre-existence, without reference to the more complex and negative aspects of Plato's doctrine, the transmigration of souls, and the fall of the soul into matter. The negative interpretation of matter and the fall of the soul into material body is quite foreign to the author of Wisdom. But, as David Winston points out, a few Middle Platonists...
Oh, that's this guy.
Yeah. A few Middle Platonists already offered the perspective of a positive view of joining souls to bodies.
Hold on. Does he give a citation for that? Like the actual verse or the actual page number?
25 through 32.
All right.
Says...
Okay. Hold on.
He says, see, the Wisdom of Solomon, 25 through 32.
Well, I'm not going to read the whole thing. But yeah, he has a whole section here on pre-existence and immortality of the soul.
Well,
Man, I'm going to have to read that one later, actually.
we'll have to comment on it.
Yeah, because it's, 7-8 pages long. So I'm not going to read the whole thing right now.
Is that the end of chapter 8?
Yes. Yes, it is. That is the end of chapter 8. And now we are going to go into chapter 9. And this is where his speech begins, where he's petitioning God.
Groovy. So, let's get into this. This is this chapter.
Yeah, so this eloquent prayer for wisdom has been recognized by many commentators as the climax of the Book of Wisdom. The eulogy of wisdom, which began at the end of chapter 6, flows into a dramatic appeal to God by the unnamed Solomon for the gift of wisdom.
All right. So this is Solomon's prayer that he gives to God in order to ask for wisdom. Chapter 9. God of my fathers and Lord of mercy, who by your word made all things, and through your wisdom framed man to be master of the creatures who have their being through you, and to administer the world in holiness and righteousness, and pass judgment with an upright heart. Give me wisdom, your throne companion, and do not reject me from among your children. For I am your servant, the son of your maidservant, a feeble and ephemeral man, short of understanding justice and law. For let a man be ever so perfect in the eyes of man, he will be of no account in the absence of your wisdom.
So God is addressed in traditional Hebrew fashion as the God of the ancestors and the God of mercy. Classic. During the divine intervention into the life of Moses in the desert, God's name is revealed precisely through the image of God of the ancestors. That's in Exodus 3. The reference to the priestly account of creation is unmistakable. God creates by spoken word. Wait, what verse are you on? What verse
I
did you
just finished verse 6.
Oh, perfect. Okay. God creates by the spoken word. Humanity is given dominion over God's creatures and the task to rule the world. This task represents the ideal of God's plan for humanity to rule as God rules, through justice and mercy. The author adds a clarification of wisdom's role in creation. Humanity has been formed by God's wisdom. The relation of God's wisdom to creation and to humanity has already been addressed by the author on several occasions. It is a key idea that guarantees the efficacy of wisdom in bringing humanity continuously into union with God.
All right. There's some notes in here, too. So God's creative wisdom is an emphatic theme in the Qumran scrolls. See 1QH 114, thou hast fashioned all their inhabitants according to thy wisdom. 120, in the wisdom of thy knowledge thou didst establish their destiny before ever they were.
So this is why there's the connection to the Essene community.
Mm-hmm. 2nd Enoch 38, on the 6th day I commanded my wisdom to create man from 7 consistencies. So there's a lot on God's wisdom. Also on this throne companion thing, he refers to wisdom as a throne companion.
Yeah, so like the whole thing, of course this would later be interpreted as like Jesus was a throne companion, I guess, because on the right hand of God and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
And of course that title, or maybe it's improper to call it a title, but the phrasing, at the right hand of God, being the right hand man, basically. That's the second in command in a way, partner in crime, whatever word you want to put on it. I'm sure there's something better, but that's a very common theme.
Confidant. So on this common theme, see 1st Enoch 84:3, 106:11 through 18. Pindar Olympia 8:22, where Themis is designated as the Paredros of Zeus. Euripides Medea 8:43.
So while Themis is a goddess, the word also means custom or right.
Mm-hmm. Aulus Aristides Orationes 2, since Zeus could not have distributed all the things of the world, had he not caused Athena to sit beside him, his assessor and counselor. Orphic Hymns 62. Although in reality only an aspect of the Logos, there are passages in Philo, an author who loves to multiply images, where justice as assessor, paredros, surveyor and ruler of all things, seems to acquire an independent existence.
There is actually something here on that specific word. So the epithet paredros, that sits by your throne, used of wisdom in 9:4, is a striking example of personification, since it is used in non-biblical Greek for subordinate deities. This passage has been used by some scholars to argue that the belief in a female consort of Yahweh, of course, there was, but this was much later, has influenced the development of the concept of wisdom. So I think there is a good amount of division between that. I don't because the way that they're presented is so inherently different.
Yeah.
The only similarity is that they're female consorts, which does not really tell you enough there.
Well, another similarity is from the Isis Erytology from Chaim 43. I attend the sun in his course. So there's your female attendant. Anyways, let's continue with the chapter. Verse 7. You chose me above all as king of your people and judge of your sons and daughters. You commanded me to build a temple on your holy mountain and an altar in the city of your abode, a copy of the Sacred Tabernacle which you prepared from the very first.
Oh, you know what that sounds like?
Yes.
Yeah, I know.
Okay. The Jubilees.
Yeah.
As it is in heaven.
So, according to the rabbis, there was both a heavenly and an earthly Holy of Holies. Mekshirta on Exodus 15:17, the exact location of thy abode, that is, directly facing thine abode.
So hold on.
This is-
The heavenly Holy of Holies, would that be the Holy of Holies?
The Holy of Holies.
That would also
yes.
just be the heaven of heavens. I think they've said that before too.
No,
No.
it wouldn't.
Because the heavens would be different than the Holy of Holies. The Holy of Holies is a specific room
Yeah.
that held the
What?
ark.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
crazy.
This is one of the scriptural statements to the effect that the terrestrial throne, apparently the ark, faces over against the celestial throne by reading the consonants MKWN, vocalized Makan, as Mekuan. There's a little more, but it's basically that. We also, obviously, we noted in Jubilees that everything that happens in the temple has its, like, as above, so below kind of correspondence.
Yeah.
Where the angels of, which angels were it?
The angels of the presence.
Yes, the angels of the presence.
Yes, they were already celebrating the holidays. They were already getting circumcised. That's why we got to do that, because the angels are doing it.
Of course, everybody's doing it. Anyways, and with you is wisdom, who knows your works, and was present when you created the world, and knows what is pleasing in your eyes, and what is right according to your ordinances. We did have this, I think, was it in Proverbs or was it in Sirach, where wisdom talks about being present with God during the creation?
It's
Ooh, I don't know.
It was definitely one of those. Being present with God. I think that was Proverbs. I think it was Proverbs.
Very well might be, but similar things pop up in Greek works and in Philo.
Yeah.
Apparently, Philo is really closely connected to the wisdom of Solomon.
Well, Philo is like a pretty solid source for a lot of stuff.
yeah.
A Jewish philosopher, knew this topic fairly well. Can quote a lot of stuff, read a lot of stuff.
Yeah, but like
he's the guy.
pretty much every single verse in the commentary has a comment on Philo.
Right.
Proverbs
right.
8.
Holy crap, man.
There it is, Proverbs 8. Thanks,
Proverbs
Jason.
8. Thank you. Send her forth from the holy heavens and dispatch her from your majestic throne, so that she may labor at my side and I may learn your pleasure. For she knows and understands all things, and will guide me prudently in my actions and guard me in her magnificence. So shall my works be acceptable, and I shall judge your people justly and be worthy of my Father's throne.
So, in a way, he's not saying this literally, of course, but he wants some of God's knowledge. Or should I say, some of his wisdom. So,
A similar note is struck in Cleanthe's famous hymn to Zeus. Quote, O Zeus, all bountiful, whose dazzling lightning splits thy black clouds, rescue mankind from wretched ignorance, scatter darkness from their minds, give them wisdom by which thou dost steer all things in justice. End quote.
so what verse did you just finish?
I just finished verse 12.
Okay, so wisdom's presence at creation guarantees efficacy in her collaboration with Solomon. Since wisdom knows all things, she will guide and protect Solomon in his decisions and actions. The idea of the glory of wisdom guiding and protecting Solomon may be an allusion to the pillar of cloud and fire that guided the Israelites in their flight from Egypt. That seems kind of...
That is a stretch.
It does seem like a stretch. The theme of Solomon's task to rule and to judge is picked up positively in the second half of the prayer. With wisdom, his works will be acceptable. He will be able to judge justly. He will be a king worthy to follow in the footsteps of his father David. It's really weird because considering how he talked about his own birth, his own status in the past, it's kind of weird that he would be asking for this. Because part of the reading suggests that he already had the necessary tools. Perhaps he just had to ask. Maybe that was just the thing he had to do in order to get wisdom.
Well, he
that's the power of prayer for you. Maybe that's what they're going for.
Yeah. This is his prayer. So
Yeah, exactly. That's the
okay. So with this next verse that I'm gonna read, there's some commentary I'm gonna get into. For what man can comprehend the plan of God, or who can grasp what the Lord wills?
Is it wisdom?
Apparently, but let me talk about this. The same idea is found in Isaiah 40:13 through 14, 55:8.
That's right.
Proverbs 30:2 through 4, Sirach 1:1 through 10, 18:1 through 7, 24, 28 through 29. First Baruch 3:29 through 27, and First Enoch 93:11 through 14, where it said, I'm going to read quite a bit.
Okay.
So in First Enoch, this is quoted, for who is there of all the children of men that is able to hear the voice of the Holy One without being troubled, and who can think his thoughts, and who is there that can behold?
We're not including that, but behold.
all the works of heaven.
Make Nightbot say it.
Yeah. And how should there be one who could behold the heaven, and who is there that could understand the things of heaven? Second Baruch 14:8 through 9, Fourth Ezra chapter 4. A similar note had already been sounded in the Babylonian poem Lutlul Bel Nemeki 36 through 38. Who knows the will of the gods in heaven? Who understands the plans of the underworld gods? Where have mortals learnt the way of a god? Sagilkinam Ubib in the Babylonian Theodicy. The divine mind, like the center of the heavens, is remote. Knowledge of it is difficult. The masses do not know it. So
Okay. So yeah, that's the same kind of idea there.
yeah, it goes all the way back to Babylon.
That's what the that kind of reminds me of the ziggurats, right? So when people read a text like let's say the Tower of Babel, right? When they when they're reading Genesis, they get to the Tower of Babel. One of the misunderstandings there is that they were trying to get up to heaven, right? When if you take into account the understanding of Babylonian ziggurats, they were supposed to be like a staircase for the gods to come down. So the issue with that was it was supposed to the Tower of Babel would have represented the gods coming down. They were trying to get them to come here to Earth.
I mean, the central idea is still basically
because just to
making contact with higher
right,
entities.
but it's not to go up. It's not to ascend. It's for them to descend. And that was the ancient understanding of ziggurats, and I think that it's honestly kind of clear that it's meant to reference a specific ziggurat, like this really huge one. I forget the king that built it, or I guess had it commissioned, but it stood for quite a long time. I don't know if it's still up. I have no idea.
Probably not. A lot of things have been destroyed.
I know, but like, some ancient things stick around.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Maybe there's some of it left.
Remnants of such things perhaps
Yeah.
exist.
Yeah, I'm not exactly sure on which ziggurat it was, but it was a very important one at the time.
All right. Verse 14. The reasonings of mortals are wretched, and our devices precarious. For a perishable body weighs down the soul, and this tent of clay encumbers a mind full of cares. There's commentary on this.
They just call us a tent of clay.
Yeah.
Why you clay tent you?
The adverse influence of the body on soul is advanced with the greatest fervor in Plato's Phaedo, whatever. At 66b, Plato says that so long as we have the body and the soul is contaminated by such evil, we shall never attain completely what we desire, that is, the truth, for the body keeps us constantly busy by reason of its needs for sustenance.
That played a huge part in later Christology. So one of the, for anyone that hasn't watched any of our stuff on Christology, one of the very earliest Christologies was Docetism. So they believed it comes from the Greek word dokeo, which means to appear, to seem. The idea that the Docetists had was that Jesus didn't have a physical body because he was divine, and he couldn't have touched flesh because that would it's tainted. Flesh is tainted. That is the thing that sins and whatnot. So that's why the Docetists believed that there was no physical body for Jesus. He only appeared to live and die.
Braxville Axe. I think we'll do a show about Islam soon. Hopefully on Saturdays at some point in the near
I mean, we
future.
think about it just probably the same way we think about we think it's fundamentally wrong on the God question and
Stuff.
yeah. But yeah, we have a video on the Quran. We'll be doing hopefully soon a show on the Quran.
Yeah, once we get some people to.
Yeah.
So this tent of clay thing, Democritus, Hippocrates, Pseudo-Plato, Axiarchus, Timaeus, Locrus, 2 Corinthians 5:1 and 4, Job 4:19, all occurs there. It is very frequent, this tent of clay idea, in the Neo-Pythagorean writings. So, there's a lot of Greek stuff that goes into this.
I mean, yeah, that would make sense considering, the context.
Let's continue. We barely make inferences concerning what's on earth and laboriously discover what is at hand. Who then has tracked out what is in the heavens? Who was privy to your design unless you gave them wisdom and sent your Holy Spirit from on high? Thus, it was that the paths of earthlings were set aright, and men were taught what pleases you, and were saved by wisdom. And that is the ending of this chapter.
So the conclusion to the prayer draws a direct parallel between creation and salvation. It is through wisdom, that human paths are set right and people are saved by wisdom. Just as wisdom was present at creation, then so too is wisdom continuously present to save human beings. Salvation is the theme that will dominate the remaining part of the book. Chapter 10 will follow wisdom's role in saving the just ones in their trials from the time of Adam right up to Moses. Then in the last section of the book, the focus will be on the Exodus events, the foundational saving event for Israel.
All right. Well, that, if I'm not incorrect,
Yeah, that should be it.
is it.
Yeah, we hope you enjoyed the show today. There was some interesting discussions there about how babies are made according to wisdom.
Wisdom.
Let's see what else we had. We had some cool discussion about the nature of
Wisdom.
about the nature of the soul, right? Was
Yeah.
it pre-existent? That's right.
Yeah.
I'll have to take a look at his in his section about it.
Yeah. And we'll maybe talk a little bit more about it later.
Yeah, be kind of neat.
Yeah. So, Wisdom of Solomon.
Yeah. So on Sunday we'll be having Dr. Josh Bowen on the show. I think that's how it's pronounced. It might be pronounced Bowen. I don't know. I've probably heard it a million times and just keep forgetting the way it's pronounced. But either way, he's going to be on the show on Sunday. For anyone that doesn't know, I think he has a PhD in Assyriology. He knows ancient Hebrew. He knows cuneiform. He knows a lot of stuff. Really, really smart guy. Really happy to have him on the show. He's helped with some videos as well, especially translating purposes. He's an awesome dude. He is part of the channel Digital Hammurabi. It is run by him and his wife. They're fantastic. They do great content. I think they're gonna have like some national, or maybe not so national. Some ancient history day on YouTube. They're trying to set that up.
Oh, that's cool.
Cool.
Yeah, that is pretty cool. We'll talk to him more about that on Sunday.
That could be great for us.
Radical.
Yeah.
So, if you enjoyed the stream today, check us out on Patreon, where you can give us money and you can get things in return. You can be on this show for $50 a month. For $20 a month, you can get into a patron hangout with us once a month, and for $10 a month, we do a monthly T-shirt raffle giveaway.
The T-shirt giveaway. Things are starting to get real heated.
Yeah.
What? There's competition?
There's competition for
Landon
Landon.
win.
I know. Watch him win again.
Yeah. For $5, you can get self-published books that we put out. For $1 a month.
$1 a month. That is $12 a year.
Yeah, you can.
That is less than what? That is less than 3 cents a day.
Yeah.
Maybe about 3 cents a day.
For like-
Just call it that.
something like 3 cents a day. You can get access to all of our scripted videos, video scripts before the videos even come out.
Yeah, that's
So-
crazy good.
Yeah, that's wild. But if you don't want to get into a giveaway type situation and you just want to get a T-shirt, pin a T-shirt.
Yeah, pin a T-shirt.
Yeah. Watch Chris pin this T-shirt.
he's gonna do it.
That's the platonic form of the T-shirt.
Yeah. Yep. There it is. You
so
can see it. It
you
defeats
can,
the purpose.
You can check out our Teespring. Get yourself a T-shirt.
Yeah, we got some pretty cool ones recently. I think we've had
Yeah.
plenty of Behold shirts.
Yeah. We got our little mascot, the bee hold. And
Usually seen holding something.
yeah. Besides that, we have an Amazon wish list.
Yeah, we do. There's a lot of great stuff on that wish list, by the way. All right, I have to. Jason, thank you for. I forget the name of the book, but it was about the veneration of. It was also from the Library of Early Christology, but I remember that coming in. I was like, yeah, that's cool, man. So thank you so much for getting that for us. Of course, Landon recently got us a whole bunch of stuff. The wish list is in the description below, and lots of interesting stuff. If you want us to have more commentaries on this table, or just more commentaries or sources in general, we will read through them, and we will we'll use them as sources, basically.
Yeah, man.
They will not go to waste. They will be used. Let's see. What else we got going on?
We got a 666 donation drive. Once we hit $666 in donations through YouTube here, we'll be getting ourselves a Thetan meter. We'll see who the most clear is. We'll tell you all about Scientology and how that Thetan meter works.
Yeah, and we're gonna mess around with it, see what we can do.
Yeah, we'll see if we can manipulate it.
Yes,
I
we'll
think-
take it apart.
I think other than that, all the stuff that it says on the screen here, do that. And
Facebook and Twitter.
completely free to follow us on Facebook and Twitter.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Completely 100% free. And I think that's all the shilling we have to do.
Yeah.
So
So we will
See you on Sunday.
and then next
And then
week
the
Friday,
Friday
and
as
maybe
well,
Saturdays
'cause
eventually.
We
and
are here.
We're around. You
for
can
the
also
week.
just watch our videos any day
They're
of the week.
still here.
Yeah.
Videos
Whole
on
big ass
demand.
playlist.
Yeah.
Catch
All
you
right.